Li Bai, Sad Thoughts in Spring. In Yan, the grass is but green threads. In Chin, the mulberry trees are thick with leaves. By the time you turn your heart toward home, my own will have already broken. The spring wind and I no longer know each other. Why should it part my silk gauze curtain? So this is the last of Li Bai's poems in the Gushi mode, in the pentasyllabic Gushi mode in this collection. And very clearly, this is a poem which fits a very, very traditional genre of Chinese poetry, which is a woman's laments. The topic of the poem is separation of lovers. It's spoken in a female poetic persona, and it has a seasonal element. It's placed in spring. Now, as I said just a minute ago, this is a very traditional topic of classical Chinese poetry. It's even a bit hackneyed, you could say. It first appears, to my recollection, in the 19 old poems, that is in the late Han Dynasty, around 200 of the Common Era. It is widely cultivated in the period of fragmentation. It's the main topic of the Kung Tishi, of the court-style poetry of the late 5th and 6th centuries, in which case it's basically an imperial concubine in a palace in a luxurious setting who is lamenting the absence of her lover, the emperor. These poems on separation sometimes can be taken at face value, but a lot of the time the separation is between man and woman. Sometimes it's between friends, scholar officials, and sometimes even when it is separation of man and woman, it is meant to be read allegorically as the separation between the scholar official and the emperor, or scholar officials with other scholar officials. In this case, I see no reason why to read it allegorically. I think we can read it quite literally. So we have here a woman. She might be the wife or the concubine of a man, and the man is far away in the other end of the empire. And he is probably not feeling the pain of separation or the pangs of love as intensely as she is. And she is suffering deeply from it. She says, by the time you're back, I will have died, or my heart will be completely broken. And this alienation from love is manifested in the way in which she no longer wants nothing to do with the spring wind, which is a harbinger of spring, of love, etc. So he says, I don't know the spring wind. Why should it invade my bed, invade my bedroom, parting my silk gauze curtain? Now, interesting things to say, contextual information. So the poem starts with a couplet, a typical parallelistic couplet. In Yan, the grass is but green threads. In Chin, the mulberry trees are thick with leaves. Now, Yan and Chin are old kingdoms of China. I don't think they're being used here literally. You're not meant to imagine that this poem is set in a time when the kingdoms of Qin and Yan existed. Yan is in the extreme northeast of China. Qin is in the extreme west. So I think this is just a hyperbole for the big separation of the lovers. In the 19 old poems, there is a similar image in where the lover is next to the Tartar horses in the extreme north, and the woman is with the colorful birds of the extreme south in Jue. So it's probably just meant to this location. One is in Jan, one is in Qin. It's probably just meant to symbolize that they're separated by a wide distance. So spring is coming, and it seems not to have advanced that much in one area. It's advanced more in the other. So in Jan, the grass is but green threads, hasn't grown much. In Qin, the mulberry trees are thick with leaves. Perhaps this difference is meant to reflect the differences in feeling between the man and the woman. Let's imagine the woman is the one in Qin, so she's laden with the feelings of love, whereas her husband, lover, whatever, he only feels the slightest pangs, perhaps, of love sickness. Yeah, and this is confirmed in the middle couple, in the middle couplet, sorry, which is not symbolic at all. It's quite straight. By the time you turn your heart toward home, by the time you feel the need to return, and that your heart feels the need to return, my own will have already broken. So my intensity of feeling is way superior to yours. Now, perhaps it's adequate here to explain a little bit about Chinese correlative thought. I think we have mentioned it in the introduction to this series, but it makes sense here. Now, the Chinese traditionally believed that there was a close, intertwined interrelationship between nature and human society and the human individual, between the macrocosm and the microcosm. It's a resonant relationship, like when you pluck a string, the other strings next to it resound. So classical Chinese thought believed that what humans do in society and what humans do to their own body affects nature and vice versa. The things that happen in nature, in the cosmos, in the seasons, in the natural disasters, in the weather, affect human society. So when there is a good ruler, nature responds to this good rulership by giving you the adequate climate and the adequate rains and sunshine in the appropriate seasons, and vice versa. When the ruler is bad, then earthquakes and natural disasters take place, first as warnings, and then as an imperative to depose the ruler or the emperor. In the personal sphere, so not doing things in the appropriate season, not eating the proper foods of the proper season, will break the balance in your body and will make you sick. So here we get a series of correlations between first yin yang, the first basic forces, which then divide into the 5 elements, which succeed each other in succession. So you have wood. Wood is followed by fire, fire by earth, earth by metal, metal by water. And each of these forces is connected with, for example, a season, and with a body part, with a flavor, with a series of policies. So, for example, spring is the time of renewal. It's the time of love. It's the time of birth. Spring is also associated with the color green, with the eastern direction. It's associated with rewards, and it's associated with love. So this will very clearly be present in this poem and in Chinese poetry. So, for example, when we have a spring setting, we are supposed to check if the humans that appear in the poem match the spring. If they match the spring, they should be, experiencing love and happiness and renewal. In some cases, this is the case, but in other cases, so the Chinese work with subverting the expectation or creating a jarring contrast between what should be and what is, between what nature is showing and what the human is feeling. And this takes a form, usually, like in this case, of the human complaining, why is it in nature the time for this? Why is nature feeling this when I am feeling the complete opposite? In this case, why is it springtime, the time of love, the time of meeting, when for me it is not spring? I'm suffering. For me, this is a time of separation and of lack of love. So this is a very important element in this poem, and it appears a lot in other Chinese poems. So, for example, autumn is the preferred season for most Chinese poetry because it reflects that sad melancholy decay, the expectation of decline, but still the preservation of beauty. And the general tone of most Chinese poetry, and of almost all love poetry, is pessimistic, is dark, is melancholy, is sad. So autumn poems, their autumn automatically matches the sadness, but spring poems are a lot of the time made in this contrasting way, like it's spring, but we're sad. So nature is not answering my call. I think nothing else to say, really. The poem is not a bad poem. I wouldn't say it's the best of Levi's poems I've read. It's probably because the topic is too conventional, but not bad, not a bad poem.